Hello, third graders. Today is Thursday, 15th of October 2020. Our lesson today is about there is and there are, some and any. Let's start by there is and there are. Let's see. When do I use there is and when do I use there are? متى بدي أستخدم there is ومتى بدي أستخدم there are. There is used with singular countable nouns. There is used with singular countable nouns and uncountable nouns. نستخدم there is مع الأسماء المعدودة المفردة. For example عنا an egg, a book. Egg and book are countables. Egg و book معدودين بس لازم يكونوا singular عشان عنا is. There is. And we use it with uncountable nouns الأسماء الغير معدودة like sugar, oil, money. Examples. Okay. دول أمثلة على uncountable nouns عنا sugar, oil و money. Let's see the examples. خلينا نشوف الأمثلة. There is a sandwich on the table. There is a sandwich on the table. استخدمنا there is why because we have a sandwich. وساندويتش هون إيش؟ countable or uncountable? Yes, it is singular countable. sandwich اللي هي إيش؟ مفرد معدود بنقدر نعده 1 sandwich, 2 sandwiches, 3 sandwiches. Let's see the second example. There is some tea in the cup. There is some tea in the cup. We have tea هون إيش؟ Is it countable or uncountable? Can we count tea? No, we can't. So it's uncountable. So I used there is some tea in the cup. There is some tea in the cup. Let's see the third example. There is some oil in the pan. There is some oil in the pan. Why did we use there is? We used there is because we have oil. And oil is uncountable noun. It's uncountable noun. اسم غير معدود. Can we count oil? نقدر نعد الزيت? No, we can't. لا ما بنقدر. فاستخدمنا there is some oil in the pan. فزي ما حكينا there is we use it for singular countable nouns. بنستخدمها للاسم المفرد المعدود. وبنستخدمها we use it also for uncountable nouns للأسماء الغير معدودة. Okay, let's move to there are. There are. We use there are for plural countable noun. Okay. نستخدم there are للأسماء المعدودة الجمع في حالة الجمع. Plural countable nouns. Let's see the examples. There are 2 cupcakes in the fridge. There are 2 cupcakes in the fridge. Why did I use there are? Because we have a plural countable noun. عنا إيش؟ اسم جمع. عنا إيش؟ اسم جمع. Cupcakes. فهو إيش؟ معدود. We can count cupcakes. نقدر نعد الcupcakes? Yes, we can. نقدر نعد الcupcakes. 1 cupcake, 2 cupcakes, 3 cupcakes. فاستخدمنا استخدمنا there are. Okay, let's see the second example. There are some sausages on the plate. There are some sausages on the plates. Sausages. Can we count sausages? بنقدر نعد sausages? Yes, we can. بنقدر نعد sausages. one sausage, two sausages, three sausages. So we use there are. استخدمنا there are. Okay, let's move to some and any. Some and any. When do I use some? When do I use any in sentences? متى رح استخدم some ومتى رح استخدم any? Let's start with some. When do I use some? I use some when the exact amount is not known. Exact amount اللي هي الكمية مش معروفة، الكمية المحددة مش معروفة. احنا ما بنعرف قد ايه عنا من هاي الشغلة، ما بنعرف قد ايه عنا من هاي الشغلة. It's not known، ما بنعرفها. Okay. هلا some we use it for countable and uncountable nouns. So some نستخدمها للcountable للمعدود and uncountable nouns للأسماء المعدودة وغير المعدودة، للأسماء المعدودة والغير المعدودة. But we have also one condition عندنا شرط واحد كمان اللي هو we use it in positive sentences. in positive sentences بالجمل المثبتة الإيجابية. شو يعني جمل إيجابية؟ What do we mean by positive sentences? What do we mean by positive sentences? شو يعني جمل إيجابية؟ اللي هي جمل أوكي اللي ما فيها not وما فيها question. So it's not negative or question. هي جملة مثبتة ما فيها نفي ولا فيها سؤال. Let's see the examples. خلينا نشوف الأمثلة. I have some cherries. I have some cherries. Cherries عندنا إيش هون؟ countable. عندنا cherries countable معدودة. I used some. طيب do I know how many cherries do I have? Do I know how many cherries do I have? هل أنا بعرف كمية الكرز اللي معي؟ لا ما بعرفها فاستخدمت some. I have some cherries. الكمية غير محددة، الكمية الكرز اللي معي غير محددة. So I used some. نلاحظ قلنا cherries as we said before. Cherries is a countable nouns. هي كل اسم معدود، هي اسم معدود. I used some. وإيش exact amount is not known. شو يعني exact amount؟ الكمية غير معروفة. I don't know how many cherries I have. ما بعرف. I used some. ما بعرف قد ايه كمية الكرز اللي معي فاستخدمت some. طيب السؤال is this sentence positive, negative or a question? Yes, it's a positive sentence. مثبتة ما فيها لا نفي. It's not a negative. It's not a question. هي مش نفي ولا سؤال. Let's look at the second example. There is some milk in the fridge. There is some milk in the fridge. Let's look at the word milk. The noun milk. Is it countable or is it uncountable? Yes, it's uncountable noun. We cannot count milk. We cannot count milk. We can't say one milk, two milk, three milks. We can't count milk. So it's uncountable noun. So we used some. There is some milk in the fridge. There is some milk in the fridge. Do we know how much milk do we have in the fridge? نعرف قد ايه كمية الملك عندنا بالفريج بالضبط؟ أكيد لا. So we used some. استخدمنا some. There are some eggs in the fridge. There are some eggs in the fridge. We used some. Why? Because we have eggs. It's countable noun. It's countable noun. It's a countable noun. So I use some. There are some eggs in the fridge. We have some sugar at home. We have some sugar at home. So sugar is uncountable. So we used some. So we use some with countable and uncountable nouns. We use some with countable and uncountable nouns in one condition, that The sentence is positive. Positive. الجملة مثبتة. With no negative and no question. Okay, let's move or take a look at any. Any. We use any with countable and uncountable nouns, just like some, زي some with countable and uncountable nouns. But we use any with negative and interrogative or question sentences. Okay, so to use any, the sentence must be negative or a question. Negative with not, or a question with question mark, with a question mark. Let's look at the examples. Do we have any pears in the fridge? Do we have any pears in the fridge? We have a question. We have a questions. احنا عم نسأل هون هل في عنا أي أجاز في الثلاجة؟ This is a question. This is a question. This is a question. و pears as we see is a countable nouns. هو اسم معدود. اسم معدود. We used any because we have a question. We have a question. She doesn't have any money. She doesn't have any money. So this is what? This is a negative. This is a negative sentence. This is a negative sentence. هاي جملة منفية. We say she doesn't have any money. هي لا تمتلك أي نقود. هي لا تمتلك أي نقود. So we used any. We used any. We used any. Because this sentence is negative. This sentence is negative. She doesn't have any money. The third sentence. There isn't any sugar at home. There isn't any sugar at home. So this is also a negative sentence. There isn't any sugar at home. We don't have any sugar at home. إحنا لا نملك أو ما عندنا sugar at home. ما عندنا سكر بالبيت. For this sentence is a negative. This sentence is a negative. So I use any. I used any. The fourth sentence. There aren't any sandwiches on the table. There aren't any sandwiches on the table. Yes, we have a negative, also a negative sentence. So I used any. I used any. I used any. So with negative and question sentences, we use any. We don't use some. Let's look at the last sentence or example. Are there any books on the shelf? Are there any books on the shelf? Here we have a question. We have a question. So I used any. I used any. Are there any books on the shelf? هل يوجد أي كتب على الرف? So I used any because it's a question form. It's a question form. Okay, so we use any with countable and uncountable nouns, الأسماء المعدودة وغير المعدودة, and we also use it in negative and questions, in negative and questions. And some we use it with positive sentences. Some I use it with positive sentences. That's it for today, my dears. So please, I need you to study these two rules and send me your feedback. And if you have any questions, please, you can ask anytime you want.